Candidates, tonight we're going to focus not just on what you believe, but on how you would actually represent this district and get things done for the people who live here. Each of you has 90 seconds for opening remarks. Mr. Toole, the floor is yours.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Will Toole. I have had the honor of representing coastal, central parts of eastern Washington County for 10 years, 5 terms in the legislature. I grew up here in East Machias, and I see some of our students from Elm Street, where I spend a lot of time. I'm a strong supporter of our local schools and communities because I went to school here and got an education here, overcame being visually impaired, legally blind, to get where I am today. I have worked in communications. I write for the local newspaper, have worked in communications for nonprofits as well, and have served 10 years in the legislature, and it's an honor to do that. I'm a 4th generation Downeaster, and I'm not sure if my time is up, but I just want to say how much of an honor it is to be here and to thank you all for coming out.
Mr. Toole, thank you very much. Mr. Daly, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for being here tonight. I am Dan Daly. I'm a proud resident of Lubec with roots going back over 200 years. I am a proud father, proud husband. I am a small business owner. I have been a competitive travel coach for many, many years. I have a small bison ranch in Lubec. I'm active in a number of different community efforts and initiatives. Sat on the Washington County Budget Advisory Committee, also 3 years as a selectman in Lubec. I want to get into why I'm here, and I think that'll likely come through as we make our way through the questions. But I wanted to take this opportunity to explain where my heart lies. Second row is a 72-year-old woman, 3-time cancer survivor, 30 years as a selectman in Lubec. Here she is again. She's on the select board. She's fighting for her community. She wants to see everybody do well, as do I, and that's why I'm running.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. A quick reminder, when we have about 20 seconds left on your timer, I will raise my hand so you can see it. And when there's about 10 seconds left and I need you to wrap up, I'll raise my hand and I'll point over at the clock so it's clear. If you go a little bit over, I probably will interrupt you, but I'll try to give you a little bit of latitude. All right, first question is about experience and representation. You each bring a different set of skills and experience to this race. Mr. Toole, extensive time in the Maine House, plus a journalism and nonprofit background. Mr. Daly, business ownership and direct experience running things here at home. What does it take to represent this district effectively? And what do you think your opponent misunderstands about that? Mr. Daly, you're leading off.
Thanks, Ben. For me, it's life experiences. I have lived a varied life. A lot of my friends say I'm actually quite random. You never know what you're gonna get. But you know, I'm self-made. I've been on my own since 14 years old. I grew up in a broken home. There was a lot of abuse, and you know, through that comes some strength and some growth. Every day I continue to grow. As far as my skill set, I would fall back on those lessons learned through some of the more trying times in life. On top of that, what would make me a good representative is just that, is that I have battled through. And even when I get knocked down, I get back up. I'm not someone who's going to be outworked. I do believe that there needs to be a level of transparency and accountability in this type of role, and sometimes I feel that that's missed with our current representation. But bear in mind, and I say this in life and in business, if I'm awake, you're going to get a response from me. I'm not going to ignore you, and I'm highly, highly accountable.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Daly. Whoa. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, Mr. Toole.
One moment.
One moment.
I'm trying to get it to reset. Okay.
All right, here we go. Now I can't. All right, Mr. Toole, floor is yours.
Please repeat the question.
Absolutely. What does it take to represent this district effectively? And what does your opponent misunderstand about that?
I think it takes it does take hard work. It takes a willingness to reach across the aisle, to work with people, to be firm in your convictions, to be firm in your faith. If God isn't behind it, you're in a world of hurt, because there are so many shifting sands and moving targets in Augusta with legislation. You also need to be a communicator. You need to know your committee's subject work. I served years on the Marine Resources Committee as well as the State and Local Government Committee, and you learn those issues and you learn the players and you try to find solutions, whether it be figuring out a way to get rid of a bill such as paid security systems for lawmakers at taxpayers' expense, finding a way to get rid of wasteful bills like that, working with folks, reaching out to folks like Sarah Dedman on this god-awful data center mess that's coming down through the pipe. As far as, I'm going to be quite frank. I am not going to say anything about my opponent tonight. He's running for his reasons. I'm not going to engage in anything to say what he doesn't bring or anything else. That's his prerogative. So I'm going to leave that there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Toole. The first follow-up will be for you, Mr. Toole. Can you point to a specific instance where your time in Augusta directly improved outcomes for this district?
I can go back to my first term. There's many things actually, but back in my first term, I introduced a bill that would have allowed students, did allow students, to get a state clam license for half price. These are young kids that we all want to see working. We've had a big discussion about that lately in the marine resources field. Had a big discussion about it. And that bill went through committee, my first ever bill, went through Marine Resources, unanimously passed, and became law. And that's just one example. It's a small example, but it's things like that, and things that Representative Strout in the audience can tell you. She had 8 bills this session. Things that relate directly to your district. And that's one example of things that I have worked on to do. So, yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Toole. The next follow-up is for you, Mr. Daly. What does representing this district mean to you that you think someone with 5 terms in Augusta might miss?
That's a good question. I don't know Will's level of involvement with the community. I really don't. But for me, I'm very focused on the youth. And I've talked about this a lot. Just a stark stat. Half of these kids right here will be gone by the time they're 26 years old. Half. That's our legacy. That's our workforce. That's our character, our identity. And we're losing half of them every single year. They're gone. And what do we get replaced with? Out-of-staters with different politics and different culture that do not align with Washington County. Beyond that, I think that's it. Yeah.
All right. All right, thank you. We'll move on. Moving on to the county budget, a very difficult issue for everyone in this region. Mr. Toole, you'll lead off. The county... Yep, we're working on it. The county is in very difficult shape. As a legislator in Augusta, what is the first thing you would do to help put it back on solid ground?
I think there were some missed opportunities last year with the delegation. When things started to crescendo, we all were kind of behind the 8 ball. And things unfolded faster than anyone realized. I think we all could have got together sooner and got ahead of it faster. Moving forward, I think that one thing we need to do, and we do this with school budgets, we do it with town budgets. We let the people decide whether the budget works for them. And it is called representative government. And I do think it's important that we have a bill. And I recall Commissioner Burns at one of the meetings while all of this was going on, and he said he supported that effort. Now, I don't know if that's still true, but I think it's only fair that we do let the people vote. And if we can fill a room full of people here tonight on this, they can fill rooms all across the county to educate people about what's in the county budget and why it's important.
Thank you, Mr. Toole. Same question to you, Mr. Daly. Absolutely. The county is in difficult shape. As a legislator in Augusta, what is the first thing you would do to help put it back on solid ground?
First thing is I hope we can flip the House. That would change a lot of what we're dealing with, these toxic, destructive, reckless policies that are coming out of Augusta that we have no say in. It's just like, hey, here you go. Here's the mess. Figure it out. Specifically, I would change the manner in which the state values our little municipalities. And I want to get into that a little bit more. I would change the funding calculation for our public schools. In Lubec alone, citizens are coming up with $28,000 a student to send them to public school. It's one of the highest in the nation, and we have, 43rd in the nation as far as outcomes? It's unacceptable. Beyond that, we need to change or discontinue some of the awful legislation that they've come up with. And then, if we can, try to find better funding for our judges and law enforcement here in Washington County. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Daly. Mr. Toole, the first follow-up will be to you. Mr. Toole, you served as the Budget Advisory Committee's legislative liaison in 2018, and you were in the legislature through the years when the fund carryover policy that precipitated much of the county crisis was adopted. With that vantage point, what did you see, and what might you have done differently?
I think we could have done a lot differently back in the day. I think as serving on the committee, I think we were at the mercy of staff. I think as that being the case, I think we could have done things differently and been a lot more aggressive in finding out what could have been done and where the real issues were with the audits and such. I think over time, those issues have emerged and everyone has learned and put a lot more scrutiny on that.
Thank you. Mr. Daly, the next follow-up is to you. You're currently on the Budget Advisory Committee for the county, working through the response. What has that experience revealed about how decisions were made, and what specifically needs to change?
Oh, and I can really understand and appreciate the anger and frustration with the public when you look at the taxes that we already pay, and then all of a sudden we're going to be paying more to bail out bad accounting practices at the county. I think more than anything, we've got to stop hiring and voting for people that aren't qualified. This shouldn't be a popularity contest. I mean, especially with the treasurer. That should be a CFO or a high-performing accountant. And I think that was the first mistake, and I believe we're working towards changing that for the future. As far as the bonds, it failed. That vote failed on the bond, and sadly, that was our best option. Like it or not, that bill was due for services already rendered. The bond was our best way out. But beyond that, I would say we worked really hard and we found some decent solutions.
Okay. Mr. Daly, thank you very much. Mr. Daly, the first rebuttal is to you. Do you believe your opponent bears a degree of responsibility for how this situation unfolded? Why or why not?
Why or why not? I'm not here to disparage Will, and you know, I don't know the man, but I would say I was a little disheartened to read some of the articles right away out against the bond without being involved at the grassroots at the committee. I mean, there's Tiffany Strout was there every time, Marion Moore was there. We worked our butts off to find reasonable resolutions to this fiscal crisis, and it would have been nice to have our representative there. That would be my criticism of him. I would say Courtney Hammond and I, Billy, Dave, we all had to go out and beg, borrow, and steal from all these municipalities to pay that TAN early so we could get another loan. It would have been nice to coalesce and circle the wagons and work collaboratively on that.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. Mr. Toole, any response?
I will say one word that he got right, and that is steal. I will say, as far as the bond goes, everyone I heard from up to that point was decidedly against the bond, and the people deserve to have some opportunity to have some representation and felt like they didn't have a voice. And that's not a disparagement against the people that were involved. I truly believe they were doing their best with what they had. But for one, you don't put a bond out 2 days before the deadline. You don't change the amount due or that you're going to borrow after the bond has gone out to public. And you move on the best you can afterwards. Do I agree? Absolutely agree that we should be appointing the treasurer, especially if no candidates emerge for that position. We do need qualified people. And I think we do need to move forward. And I think as a delegation, we could have engaged with the commissioners back in April or May and researched all of the options and exhausted those before a bond was put out to the public.
All right, thank you, Mr. Toole. We're a little over time. Thank you. No problem. Mr. Daly, I'll give you any last words if you have them.
Yeah, and he mentioned representation. I never saw him there. That's the representation that the people were asking for. It would have been nice if he had been present and shared the load and found, adequate solutions. It's also worth knowing that the county has been funded by bonds for how many years? It's not a new idea. It's been in practice for a very long time. Should we move away from it? I would hope so, but it's going to take some time to get there. Beyond that, am I out of time?
Close.
That's good.
All right. We'll move on to how government works. Mr. Daly, you'll be up first on this one. There is a difference between advocating for an idea and actually getting it done. Walk me through how you would take a specific issue affecting this district from identifying the problem to getting a bill passed and implemented.
Well, as we know, have we lost it? Yeah, as we know. Can you hear me now? Well, like I said earlier, if we can flip the House, then passing measurable, substantive, significant bills becomes more of a reality. For me, I've lived a life of action. I believe in service through action, not lip service. So talking about it's one thing, but I actually need boots on the ground, people that are going to fight for our community. As far as getting a bill passed, it's not following blindly, but it is coalescing with your peers, trying to educate them on the position that you're taking, and work collectively to get meaningful legislation passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. Mr. Toole.
And I can go to several options here. I can tell you when we fought to keep the Down East prison open and get it reopened over 8 years, that was certainly not lip service. It was a long, grueling, frustrating, heartbreaking process at points. There were days I almost wanted to quit. There was one day I almost went and pulled my papers because we didn't seem to be making traction. But that being said, through patience and perseverance and keeping at it and involving the community, we did that. I will also say another bill, I worked on a bill to arm the Maine Forest Rangers. Up until 2018, they couldn't carry a gun on duty. law enforcement officers couldn't carry a gun on duty. I worked with Democrats, Republicans, and a former forest ranger, a friend of mine, Jeff Courier, to get that done. And save it from a certain death and move it to full legislation. I have a proven track record of getting bills passed, working with folks, and standing up for issues that have been brought to me.
Thank you, Mr. Toole. I'd like to ask you a quick follow-up to that.
Yeah.
What is one mistake new legislators may make that might prevent them from being effective?
One mistake that new legislators make, and everyone that has walked into that building has done it. They think they are the second coming of Christ, and they are not. You are one vote, and you learn through hard knocks, and you learn the hard way, and you get humbled, and you get beat, and you get your head handed to you on a platter, especially when you're in the minority, which have served 10 years in. So humility is the first lesson you need to learn.
Thank you. Mr. Daly, any last words?
Well, you had two questions there. You had one and then you had a follow-up with them. Which one do you want me to answer?
Follow-up to
Yeah,
Mr. Toole's
as far as
response.
mistakes for freshman legislators?
Sure.
Yeah. To his point, people coming in and acting like lone wolves and not collaborating with other folks that have been there, done that. And that doesn't mean you just follow along and follow the party. Certainly, I think we should be able to speak and think for ourselves. But again, if we can round circle up the wagons, and I think we could potentially have a chance at saving Washington County and maybe even the state. I look at it as trying to get the best athletes that we can for our team and get them together down in Augusta and hopefully change things for the better.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Daly. Will, you have something to add?
I do actually. You know, speaking of athletes, I ran cross country in high school with a guide because I was totally legally blind. Never came in last, never came in first, but I puked my guts out on the court many a time, on the field many a time. And we'll do it and have done it and we'll continue to do it in Augusta.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to now turn to the local economy. Mr. Toole, you'll lead off with this one. Energy costs and tax burden come up in nearly every main race. Beyond those two issues, what is one specific thing you would do in Augusta that would help Washington County grow? Mr. Toole.
I think there's a lot of things, certainly work on the Marine Resources Committee. That's all about the economy. There's a lot of talk there about the environment, but it really is the economy. It's our main economy. I go to zone council meetings. I consult frequently with my friend John Druin from Cutler, who alerted me to a bill that could devastate this economy in this area, and that is the introduction of a data center off of the coast of East Coast. And I had to get educated pretty quick on that. And I asked with other folks around, and to a person, that god-awful thing is a monstrosity, and I am ashamed to say the veto got sustained yesterday, that the governor did, and one of many disappointments yesterday. But the sad fact of it is, we need to be fostering local small businesses, reducing regulations, helping folks succeed, and doing things that the people in this community want, and standing up for things against things that they don't want, such as the data center. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toole. Mr. Daly.
Jobs and deregulation. It's key to any functional society. As far as the data center, there's been a lot of misinformation. I think it behooves us to do what we can to bring new industry into our counties. We're struggling. The opposite is what? No GDP growth. and 25 in the state of Maine. Then we drive it out, half of our kids, they have no opportunities. There's very limited opportunities for tech schools. You've got an assault on small businesses in this state. You've got 135,000 regulations and 135,000 small businesses. A regulation for every single one of them. Too many regulations. Beyond that, I would love to see us find a way to attract more aquaculture, agriculture, both of which seem to be forgotten right now with all the green initiatives. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Daly. Mr. Toole, anything to add?
I guess, yes, there's a few things. So one thing folks may not realize was a raging debate this legislature was the paid family medical leave system, which opens tomorrow, which is walloping businesses all around this state. We had, I don't know how many bills to reform a system that is absolutely insane, that was created under Democratic rule, and that is costing businesses, driving them out. We've got these millionaire tax bills that are now driving more people out. We keep raising the minimum wage and wondering why public services cost a ton of money, and that's driving more up the cost of living here. And so all of those things, those things are why we do need the majority, and why we need to hang on to the seats we have and get out of the 8-seat deficit that we have right now before one vote is cast.
Okay, I'd like to do a quick follow-up, Mr. Toole, and I think we'll go with you, Dan, afterwards as well. I want to play devil's advocate here and say we don't reclaim the majority. Let's say that we're operating on the same platform that we are right now. How might you help Washington County grow?
You continue to advocate for local opportunities and work with the fishermen and work with the core businesses and get bills from them and try to reduce regulations where you can. You mix and match. You find opportunities. And there are opportunities. Tiffany had a few of those, Strout had a few of those bills this past session. And you know, you hope, which is a very dangerous thing to do, you hope that there are folks on the other side that will work with you. And there are a few if you take the time to build those relationships.
All right, thank you. Mr. Daly, any last words?
You had two questions, so what was the second?
I did. I think we'll stick with, let's just play devil's advocate here and say we're in the same situation we are now, which is we don't have a majority in the Senate, the House, or maybe even the governor's office. You're working on the same platform that they currently are. How would you help this state grow? The county, I'm sorry. How would you help this county grow?
Again, you've got to reach across the aisle where you can, but not be duped into poor, bad legislation. Beyond that, I'd like to see us do away with the paid family leave. I think it's just another gross tax. We got to stop the reckless policy making in Augusta where it's having just gross effect on our community and no accountability. The other thing I'd like to see is a discontinuance of the free pass that the nonprofits and the land trusts get. And that could directly affect Washington County. I'll give you a perfect example. Lubac has nearly 50% of all ground either under open space or tax exemption status. They $800,000 in lost tax revenue. We are paying that on top of our county and state tax.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Daly. We'll move on to schools. Our local school systems are under pressure, from funding to enrollment to performance. Where do you think the state is getting it wrong, and what would you do to change? Mr. Daly, you're up first. My apologies.
First things first, our Department of Education's well overfunded, way too administratively heavy. They've got a $2 billion annual budget. I'm going to give you a couple stats that'll blow your mind. Florida has 2 million public school kids between the grades K through 12. 64 superintendents. Maine has 170,000 students. Anybody care to guess how many superintendents they have? 164. 164. The other issue is the way in which we fund our schools. It's disproportionate, it's tied to bad state valuations of town property value, and I'm hoping that we can pass a bill that actually will change that and potentially save our community and our schools.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Daly. Mr. Toole, to you.
So a few things. I got into politics. I started covering local news during the school consolidation fight. And there was a lot of rhetoric at the time that there was too many superintendents. What a lot of folks don't realize is every town has to have a superintendent for their students. And it is an issue in one sense, but it's not the same as that. So I will say, we do in this area fortunately have schools where you have local control, where you have the local people get to set the school budgets and such. As far as the school funding formula goes, we just passed, Governor signed, I know she's not everyone's favorite, certainly not mine, but she just passed a bill to add in ability to pay, income, and poverty in a community that is going to start to have an impact on bringing dollars where they need to be. In fact, Lubec, which I've seen some comments that Lubec didn't get anything out of that, that's not true. Lubec, which is RSU 85, District RSU 85, SAD 19, is going to get right around 135,000. Washington County is going to get $2.5 million in money we should have been getting all along. And this is just the first step. There's a lot that needs to be done as far as the funding goes. Certainly things like the $50,000 teacher, that's where you want to talk about performance in the schools. The $50,000 salary for teachers, that should not have passed. I didn't support it.
Mr. Toole, I apologize. I'm
Thank
going
you.
to cut you off there. Mr. Daly, I'll leave it for you for the last words.
I've got a couple things. $50,000 is poverty wages in Washington County right now. It's $25 an hour. Now, if you're a young family, you can't afford to live on that. You've got a couple $1,000 a month just in food costs, let alone fuel. The other issues that I see with the schools here in Maine, they're unionized, and they have a stranglehold on all of our public schools. Beyond that, the bill that he's referencing, it was another tax to the tune of $44 million. So Washington County got $2 million of the $44 million. It's a drop in the bucket. $135,000 in Lubec. We have a $3 million plus budget for 100 kids. It's too little, too late.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Will, you have something to add?
I have plenty to add, and I have to say that if we are going to let the perfect be the enemy of the good, we are never going to get the school funding that we want. It may be too little, but it's not too late. And we certainly need to be doing more to get our schools back and getting the funding for our rural schools that people have told us for 20 years that they want to see us fighting for, and we have fought for. People like Howard McFadden and on down the line, Bucket here in the front row have fought for it as well, and it's finally happening. It was a bipartisan majority that supported that bill, and I'm proud of supporting it, and I don't regret it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Toole. Thank you both. We're going to move on to a related question. How local control fits with the bigger picture. Washington County has small towns, with many running their own schools, fire departments, road crews, planning. There's a real tension between local control and the efficiency or opportunity that comes from regional coordination. Where do you draw the line? Mr. Toole, you're up first.
It's a hard line to draw, because what Augusta wants is control. Augusta wants all of us to walk their line. And the harder we make it for them locally, the harder it is for them to really do nutty things like dark skies and local mandates. And so one thing that I did have put in the last several years, actually signed on to with former Senate President Mike Thibodeau, the last time the Republicans had the majority, was put in a bill to identify mandates for towns and counties that they're struggling under. And that bill has gone to the study table and died several times. We'll fight it again if I'm back there. And hopefully, if we have the majority, we can get it off the study table and repeal some of these mandates and create some more organic local control and get Augusta out of our business.
Okay, Will, I want to ask you a quick follow-up. Try to define the line for me. Pick a specific service.
Well, I would say one, for example, would be, a good one would be the county, the jails. There's a bill, every year, there's a bill to increase the funding for the jails. And that's probably a right size one where the county should have more control, absolutely should. And over the years, we battled that, fought that, and this year, after much fanfare, we were gonna get $8 to $10 million, it's great. Then there was gonna be permanent in the budget, only wound up being $4 million one-time funding, so we will have to come up again. And that is the line. Those kind of services, like the county jails, make sense, they're already regionalized. We don't need to be sucking more into the county and state level and creating bigger entities that are further removed from the people. So I think there is a line already existing. So I'm sorry if I was a little off kilter there.
No, it's okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Toole. Mr. Daly, I'll repeat the question.
Thanks.
There's a real tension between local control and the efficiency or opportunity that comes from regional coordination. Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, it's an open-ended question and somewhat broad. I would say first and foremost, Augusta has a master plan to change the demographic of Washington County. And if you don't see that, I don't know what to tell you. It's pretty glaring to me. Their policies are aimed directly at changing and driving folks out of our community. So I want to share that, but also I think if we could improve the funding for our jails, but also our judges, and possibly even state police, that would have an indirect but also a direct impact on our funding and the way in which our resources will collaborate with the state.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, let's move on. Cost of living. Families here are feeling pressure from rising costs, energy, housing, basic expenses. What is one policy you would support that would make a measurable difference within the next 2 years? Mr. Daly, you're up first here.
We need to stop with all these virtue signaling green initiatives, solar, wind. 10% of every single one of your monthly electric bills is to feel good for a majority in Augusta. Beyond that, you've got to change and just cancel some of these just reckless policies that are just devastating our community.
Okay. Mr. Daly, I want to ask you a direct follow-up on this one. You proposed a short-term rental moratorium in Lubec while also being a rental property owner yourself. Can you walk me through how you thought through that trade-off?
100%. And the moratorium really wasn't necessarily a moratorium. It was just an opportunity to look into what's happening. So Lubec's short-term rental market doubled in a year. And what that does is it directly affects long-term rentals, which then affects young families that are looking for a reasonable and cost-effective place to live. So we're forcing out our workforce by unchecked short-term rentals. On top of that, you're seeing a big bump in resource utilization and impact on our infrastructure. There was a town south of Lubec, and I can't remember if it was Steuben or another one, they literally had to bus in water. They had to truck in water one summer because of all of the vacationers and tourists that were there. They simply ran out of water.
All right, thank you. Mr. Toole, so the primary question back to you, and I'll repeat it. Families here are feeling pressure from rising costs, energy, housing, basic expenses. What is one policy you would support that would make a measurable difference within the next 2 years?
So about a month ago, I received an email on a Saturday morning from Mr. Whitney and a friend of his suggesting that we should suspend the gas tax in lieu of, I won't even go into that part of it, but the gist of it was suspend this, do a gas tax freeze for 2 months and take the money from the rainy day fund and plug the hole that it would create in the highway fund. I think with gas prices the way they are, regardless of why, I think that was a good policy. I submitted that as an amendment to the supplemental budget and also doing away with the $300 checks that really are a one-time, you can put them in your pocket, put them in the bank, do whatever you're gonna do with them. Versus the gas tax suspension would have lasting impact and actually help our economy. I'd be open to putting that in again. And certainly, yeah, that's one, as a matter of fact. I certainly agree on the environmental, on the solar and the wind. We need to stop that. We need to stop subsidizing that. And we need to move forward in that direction and move forward towards energy independence. Which, by the way, there was a bill this session, which sponsored by the Assistant Minority Leader in the House, the Senate rather, that said a town cannot ban you from burning firewood or using oil products. It gave you energy choice. And the governor signed it, and it got through the 2 Democratic chambers.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Toole. Mr. Daly, I'll give you the last word for this one.
Yeah, again, it just comes down to abysmal policies, corruption, and reckless spending. You stop that, and there's some legitimate funds there that we can use. When it comes to, affordability is my biggest issue with the state right now, especially in this county. And we talk a lot about electricity rates. I don't hear anybody talking about hydro turbines. Why are we not talking about hydro turbines or even micro-nuclear power plants? You could literally fit a nuclear power station within a 20-foot shipping container. It's not this big drawn-out process any longer. Beyond that, I would say the hydro turbines is something we need to be looking into. It's technology that has been revolutionized and greatly used in Western Europe with some great results.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. One closing question. Mr. Toole, you'll be up first here. What do you think the people of this district are most right to be angry about? And what would you do about it?
So, this is a loaded question. I'll give you a spoiler, it's going to be a column in the paper next week. And my issue is, over the past several years, the legislature passes bills to name state frogs, to name state turtles, to make dark skies, to tries to mandate home security systems at taxpayers' expense for lawmakers, to raising lawmakers' pay, voting their own pay raises. Those are all things that create this double standard of legislators are on one level, we think we're gods, while the people have to sit back and suffer the consequences. And we waste all this time and all this energy so that we have a day like yesterday where we can't even protect our kids and have to sit there till 9 o'clock when we have all of this other stupid nonsense. So what would I do about it? I would oppose all of those things. I will continue to highlight those things. And if we get in the majority, I will be fighting to kill those things before they even happen. The people deserve to have legislators who are not above the law, not above you and I. And that's exactly what I would do. And I think we need to stop these frivolous bills. With that, I think we also need to limit the number of bills a legislator can put in to like 5, 6, 7 bills tops per session, or even for the 2 years of a term. That would cut our bills from 2,000 down to 1,000 and create a better workflow, and we might actually get something done on some of the bigger issues.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toole. Mr. Daly.
Thank you. Loaded question. There's a lot of things that I think folks are upset about. First and foremost for me is the lack of transparency and accountability in Augusta. Second would be, again, beating a dead horse here, but where these legislators have passed just abysmal policy and not being held accountable or called to task, and the devastating effect that that's having on our community. I'll go back again to the nonprofits, the manner in which they value our towns. I'm going to give you a perfect example here. Lubec valued at $334 million last year. It's higher now this year. That makes us the 5th highest taxpayer for county taxes, 5th. And that's ahead of Machias and Calais. On top of that, that sets our mill rate, it sets our school reimbursement. And you combine that with the $800,000 a year that we are also having to come up with to cover the nonprofits, it's not sustainable. I have people that I talk to every single day who literally don't know if they're going to be able to stay in Washington County. To me, there's a master plan to drive these people out and change the demographic of Washington County and make one big park. I'm going to fight, and I'm going to fight, and I'm going to fight. There's no one that's going to outwork us. We've got to take the House, and finally we'll have a say in the direction of this county and hopefully save it.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. We're going to take a brief break.